What's up, guys? We made it. Double digits number. This is the Fight Club Podcast, episode 10. It's your boy, Rick. We're here. We just finished a weekend of UFC fights. You have UFC 315 in Montreal, Canada. I will say it was a surprise. I honestly didn't think that it was going to be, I guess, the best card, but it was a pretty exciting card. I will say I saw the main card pretty much. I didn't see the prelims. I'm going to go back and watch them. I just been really busy with Mother's Day and with all that. So to start it off, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Happy Mother's Day to the single moms, the moms in relationships, the grandparents that are raising their grandkids, the mothers to be, all that stuff. So a belated happy Mother's Day to all of you guys. You guys definitely deserve a day if you can get it, if not more, obviously. So one of the hardest jobs in the world. But back to the mission at hand here. So UFC 315, let's get after it. Let's start with the main card here. Let's start with the main fight. How about that? We'll work our way backwards. So I'm going to be honest. Last week, I was talking about how I think that the focus was not necessarily on the fight, really focus on the fight, but it was more focused on the implications of what the results from the fight are going to be. Right, which was going to be obviously if Bilal won, then you're going to have Illia and Islam fight each other. If JDM won, you're going to have Islam move up, fight JDM. You're going to have Illia and Charles Oliveira fight maybe International Fight Week, right? So we just don't know. There has not been any announcements as of. It was kind of weird because Dana White, he's obviously at the event, but he didn't do the post-fight press conference. He didn't do that press conference, which is pretty interesting. Typically, he comes right after. You had somebody else come up who I think he's a director of international affairs or something like that, or international relations. He did his side, but he really couldn't answer any questions, at least not the questions that we all wanted to know. Right. And that was what's next? What because of this is going to happen next? All we can do is go on what we feel like, what we think is going to happen. Right. So what we think that obviously JDM is going to fight Islam next. I would assume because of the way his eye is, he's not going to fight for, I don't know, until maybe September, October. Maybe they fight in, I don't know, in New York. Possibly, I don't know, in the Mecca. Maybe they do go back to Vegas and fight. I don't think that. I know people were talking about them going to Perth to fight. I don't think that they pull Islam and move him over there to do that. There's just he needs to fight in the United States. I guess what you can say is maybe they move him and have him fight somewhere in the Middle East. That could be something, just because Dana White's so, connected with Turkey and everything like that. They might do that. They might fight in the Middle East, but I hope not. I really hope not. I hope it's on United States soil. So, so we think that fight, or at least I think that fight's going to happen, which sets us up for Illia versus Charles. I think this was a fight that should have happened anyway. I personally believe that obviously you think that Illia and Islam is going to be like the fight to do. You have the pound for pound. I think when it comes to pound for pound rankings, let me see what we got here. You got Islam, John Jones, and Illia. So the 1 versus 3 on pound for pound rankings. Not a bad matchup. But I told you there's some asterisks, I think, with Illia's game and with Illia's record that I think you got to take into consideration. I really wanted to see him fight somebody in the 155-pound division to earn his spot, to show that he can really, he's able to be in that spot. He's able to be in that division. And I don't like the fact that he is going based off of what he's done in 145, because like I said, Volk and Max, I've already said that multiple times. I think there's asterisks next to those two. Not that Ilya is not a fantastic fighter. I do think he is, but I would have liked to see him against those two guys when they were optimal shape. Obviously they're a little bit later in their ages, so you're not going to get the optimal shape they were in their prime, but you will get an optimal shape for a 37-year-old. Right, 36-year-old Max, or 37 or 36, wherever he's at. But I'd like to see him against Charles. I mean, I want to see that fight. I'm going for Charles. Obviously, I'd like to see Ilya lose, but that's just me being a hater, and it is what it is. I don't like that hype. He might come out. He might demolish Charles. I don't know. I love Charles. I can never go against him. But we'll see. I wanted to see him against them, and that looks like that's what's going to happen. We're going to see Charles and Ilya International Fight Week, and so I'm excited for that. So looking at what does he got? Welterweight. Obviously, we have Bilal losing. JDM is going to probably fight Islam, but you have a lot of people under that, right? You got a lot of people under that. Let me see what we got here. Jack Della Maddalena. All right. Oops. Sorry, guys. 1 second here. That was pound for pound rankings I was looking at. I need to look at their actual rankings here. So, messing up here. All right, so you got Jack is a champion. Bilal moves down. Well, at least he moved down to the number 1 ranked guy. Then you got Sean Brady, Shavkat, Leon, Kamaru, Ian Machado, Joaquin Buckley, Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington. I think that there's some exciting fights. There's exciting fights at that division, in that welterweight division. I'm excited to see JDM go against Islam. This might be a hot take, but honestly, I think that Islam walks through JDM. Okay. I think that if you look at everything that happened in that fight, JDM and Bilal, he did a better job. I think he took more damage when he actually put the wrestling in, because he brought himself into that short distance, and on the break, JDM was making him pay for it. But he took JDM's back at least a couple times, and also he was on top of him. He was on top of him for at least one time in that fight. So you're telling me that you don't think that Islam, if he has his back more than once, is going to do something with that? There's no evidence that shows us that Islam isn't going to take advantage of that and finish him, right? If he ends up on top, it's a wrap, dude. It's over, right? I think Islam has more tools when it comes to also firepower, when it comes to punching, kicking, all that stuff. He mixes it up better, in my opinion. I think he beats Bilal. Islam can beat Bilal 10 times out of 10 times. Easy. So if you look at this and you look at the very end, that's when Bilal was doing a better job and he was opening up more and he was shutting JDM's eye. Well, if that was happening with Bilal, I'll bet you that Islam, he gets there faster. And I think that he blows through that. That's my opinion. I think that he blows through JDM, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's JDM. He's solid, man. He has great footwork. He's a daredevil, bro. He's in the pocket. He's just shooting. He's great, man. It was really, really fun to watch. I honestly had never watched a JDM fight, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a really, really good fight. A lot of people say, did JDM win it, or did Bilal lose it? And I think JDM won it. It just seemed like there was something special going on with him. It seemed like his walkout, he was just focused. He was like just zoned in, bro. He was in his flow state. He was just getting after it. Immediately when the bell rang for the first round, he came right to the middle and he started throwing some blows. Right. And I think that right there set the tone for the rest of the fight. And I think that he did his best work when he was inside in the middle of the ring. He didn't pass that black line and he wasn't against the fence. He just moved around and stuffed takedowns. Right. He did a really good job. Everything Bilal came out with him with, he stopped them and he met them at the point and he was able to counter. He had the perfect counter for all the action that Bilal brought. He had the perfect counter for it. And so I think he just fought the best fight he could have fought, right? So if you look at it, I watch a lot of Morning Combat, and then I watch a lot of Luke Thomas. Stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. I watch a lot of Luke Thomas, and he was talking that a lot of people were saying that Bilal should have used his wrestling more, all this different stuff. I do think he probably should have. I think he should have at least faked that he was going to go for the shot a couple of times just to put JDM, kind of make him be more aware. If you look at it, I think that he was standing and fighting with them. Not to say that he was trying to, say what he was. Not that he was trying to do what he said he was going to do, because before the fight he said, I'm standing, I'm not going to shoot. I don't think that that's necessarily what went into place. I don't think that that's what he was doing. I just think that, Jack was moving around a lot and just wasn't giving him those openings. He was just far enough away that you couldn't get that shot off, right? But I think that maybe he should have fake the shot a lot more, because when he was at least faking the shot, his punches were landing, and JDM had to think about what was coming at him, and just that split second kind of made it a little bit more even. So anyway, I think that was a fantastic fight. I'm excited to see kind of what comes next. I like Islam up at welterweight just because, I mean, think about it. You ever see the picture of his back? Like, his back is freaking ginormous, and like, I think there's like these memes that are like, I never even knew that these were muscles. He has like his back shoulder blades are just huge and just defined, right? So think about that same guy, but 15 pounds bigger, and he's not going to be fatter. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be more muscular, right? He's going to be less drained. I think he's going to be a problem for that division. He's going to be a problem. I'd like to see him against Jack. Obviously, we're going to see that, but I'd like to see him against Sean Brady. I'd like to see him against Shafka. I mean, it just opens the door for so many great matchups. I mean, so many great matchups. And you know what? I love that this happened also, because guess what? We're not getting Ilya against Islam right now. We probably will at some point, but we're not getting it now. But what you got is you have Ilya also having to earn his work at 155. So now he's fighting Charles. Let's say he does win. Who is he going to fight next, right? He's got to fight. Let's see. He's going to fight Charles, and let's say he does beat Charles, right? Maybe he fights a Justin. Max and Dustin are going to fight already, so that's off the table. Dan Hooker, I don't think he's in the talks for anything. So you're looking at Charles, and if he beats him, and let's say Islam fights and down the road, and he's fighting JDM, and he wins, and he decides he wants to fight another one at that welterweight division. Who does Ilya fight next? Bro, why is nobody talking about Arman? Right? I think people are talking about Arman, and Arman came out and he said that, like, they offered him Gamrot. They offered him maybe one more person, right? But they offered him someone that was down, that was way below him. Where's Gamrot at? Gamrot is ranked 7, right? Arman was supposed to fight for the championship in January. Obviously, he pulled out for whatever reasons. I honestly think that I don't know. But he pulled out, right? He pulled out. But I think that we were all excited for that fight. We thought that Arman could have pulled something off. I was going for Islam, but it doesn't matter. You think that Arman could pull something off, right? But I'd like to see Arman against Ilya. Let's see that. Right? Because also I don't know. I honestly think Islam runs through Ilya. That's just me. Maybe that's just that's a hot take, whatever. I'm going to look back at this point right now, and I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? I said on this date, on this episode 10, the first double-digit episode of the Fight Club podcast, I said that Islam is going to, I think everyone's using the word dog walk right now, or that term. Islam's going to dog walk Ilya. Okay? Mark my words. That doesn't get past the 3rd round. I'll bet you. Right? I'll bet you. And we'll see. A lot of people are probably going to talk smack about it. But guess what? When it happens, it's going to happen. And just watch. Right? Everybody is very much Dagestani haters, I think. And I'm kind of the opposite. I like them a lot. But I think more than anything, Islam's done the work. Right? Ilya talks shit about Islam saying, oh, he's moving up. He's scared of me. But Islam is moving up for the reasons that Ilya said he was moving up. Ilya said, oh, I did all my work at 145. Islam really did all his work at 145, right? If you look at his record, and it's pretty ridiculous, right? So he beat Moicano, submission. He beat Poirier, submission. He beat Volkanovski, KO. He beat Volkanovski again in the first matchup. That was obviously on short notice, a unanimous decision, right? He beat Oliveira, submission. He beat King Green, or he's Bobby Green at the time, KO. He beat Hooker, submission. He beat Moises, submission. He beat Drew Dober, submission. I mean, bro, he's going through the whole division. He went through the whole division legit. He even rounded about twice and came back and fought Volk, But the thing is that, I mean, Volk's not in the division, but he came back and fought again, right? And he's fighting whoever's in front of him, right? But I mean, come on. At some point, your boy is probably, look how big he is. He's bigger. If you look at him when he's standing up next to Bilal, he's taller than Bilal. He's going to be bigger and more massive than Bilal is, right? And so why wouldn't he move up? right? Why wouldn't he move up? So let's move up. Let him get fresh. Let him just go after it. Let him get that double champ status and let him come back down. He said he's not going to vacate the title no matter what happens. This was before the fight. He said he's not going to vacate the title, which means that your boy is going to, well, if this works out and Dana White doesn't strip him, he's going to fight for the 170. He's going to win that because that's what I think happens. And then maybe fights one more at 170. And then he goes back down and he fights Illia if Illia wins. If Illia doesn't win, he'll just go down and fight whoever. I don't know who else he would fight. You know, maybe he would go down and fight Arman if Arman, you know, ends up being the one who's going to be there and to challenge him. I don't know. But I personally think that that's how that goes. Okay. So anyway, that's what I think. It might be a hot take. You guys might not believe, might not think that that's true, but that's what I think. Episode 10, you heard it first right here. And nobody else is really saying that. Nobody thinks that Islam's going to dog walk Illia. I do though. And maybe I'm going to have to put my, you know, take my foot out of my mouth and just shut up. And that might be the case, but your boy said it here. So if you don't believe me and you're a hater, that's fine. You'll see. Some point, probably at the end of this year, if not next year. We'll see. So moving on from that main event, you have Valentina Shevchenko against Manon Fiorot. I like this because I was going for Valentina. If you remember last week, I said Valentina. But you had a lot of people talking shit. You had a lot of people saying that she wasn't going to win, right? You had Luke Thomas who picked against her, right? But then you had Josh Thompson in his podcast with Big John McCarthy, and he said that Fiorot was going to dog walk Valentina, right? Which didn't happen, right? Now, Valentina is not what she was before. You can tell she's older. She's 36 or 37 years old. She's getting at the end, but she was the underdog. And you have a bigger, younger person in Fiorot, and, you know, she was still getting hit with that check right hook. I mean, just over and over again until she adjusted and ended up being a bit of a back and forth, more of a chess game than an actual battle. But it is what it is, man. You're getting older. You've won. She's won for so long. She's on this long winning, winning streak. And, you know, you got to win how you can win, especially when you're that old and you're older when it comes to fighting terms, right? And there's, you know, I know they're talking about Wei Li after her. They're talking about, you know, possibly a couple of other people, Blanchfield or Macy Barber or something like that. But we'll see what happens. But honestly, I go for Valentina. I was worried when she was throwing the spinning kicks because I know that's what happened when she lost it to Alexa Grasso. She did a stupid back kick and Alexa took her back, and then it was a wrap from then. So I kind of worry when she does a spin, but she did a spinning back kick. She did a bunch of spinning hook kicks. Anyway, you know, she's just light on her feet. I go for her, you know. But kudos to Manon Fiorot. I mean, she got her nose broken in the first round and she just powered through. I can't imagine what that feels like to have that happen. Also, talking about damage, I mean, talk about what Bilal took. Bilal had broken orbital, broken nose, and you see his lip got split all the way down where it was separated. I mean, that's freaking nuts, man. These guys are warriors, and you got to give them credit for that. Also, people are talking, this is to go back to the main event here, you know, but people have been talking about how Bilal's a boring fighter, right? That wasn't a boring fight. That was a fantastic fight. Now, maybe if Bilal had gone with what he always goes with just wrestling and all that, it would have been more of a boring fight. But, you know, he put his dukes up, man, and he went blow for blow with Jack D. And, you know, it was a good fight, man. It was fantastic. Anyways, that's it. But I just wanted to say that he did take a lot of damage. Kudos to him, man. I don't think you should say that he's a boring fighter. He might not be. He's definitely hated. But it is what it is. You're either hated or you're loved, bro. If you're in the middle, then you don't even exist anymore. So you got to be one or the other, I think. If not, you're just going to fly under the radar and you're not going to get that UFC push that you need, right? You got to be here or here. Here is invisible, right? Okay, third fight down, you have Jose Aldo against Ayman Zahabi. So as for us, Zahabi's brother, and he won by the unanimous decision. It's controversial. I guess a lot of people are saying that they don't believe that you know, that he won, or maybe he didn't, or you could have argued it for Jose Aldo. But you have Jose who, he retired after the fight, right? He just said his body told him at some point that he just couldn't do it anymore, right? But couple things, right? This is a couple of things for me. Nobody else is talking about this, but if you listen to what he said at the end of that fight, or maybe it was what he posted, but he ended up saying something along the lines of, I went through a lot this last week, and my body at some point told me, you can't do this anymore. And he said, and I listened, right? Now, I'm thinking about that, what does that make me believe? That makes me believe that he stopped cutting, right? He stopped cutting, but he let Ayman Zahabi, he let him still cut, right? Kind of messed up, no? Right? He let him cut. And so that was interesting. I thought that was interesting. So he was in a better position to be able to take the shots better. And so it was a bit unfair in that aspect, I feel like. I feel like he missed weight on purpose, right? He could have said something. He could have done something, but why would you, right? Because your opponent is going to make the weight. You are not, because you said it yourself that your body told you you couldn't do it. And you said, you know what? I listened to it, right? Okay, fair enough, whatever, right? So that happens. Well, if you look at the end of the fight too, people are saying that obviously Jose, he did that freaking soccer kick to Zahabi's face, right? And give credit where credit's due to Zahabi, man. He got dropped twice in that round, the third round, but in the last, I don't know how many minutes, he put it on Jose Aldo, right? And people are saying, oh, that was in between. It probably was Jose. He did more damage, whatever, right? Look at how that fight ended. That fight ended with Zahabi on top of him, right? But if you notice too, people are saying that he didn't finish him though. He was on top of him in a dominant position, but he didn't finish him. But if you look, he was complaining that Jose was holding his gloves, and he definitely was. And the fact that he was complaining, that took about 15, 20 seconds off when he was complaining Jose was holding his left glove, right? So this stops the progress of the match. If he doesn't hold those gloves, you had elbows coming through. Who knows what would have come through and would have ended Jose's night, what would have put him out, which would have finished him. You don't know, right? So that bothers me, the fact that A, he stopped cutting. B, he let Zahabi finish cutting. C, he was cheating and holding on to his glove. I don't like that, man. I don't like that, right? But, it is what it is. Jose is a legend, right? And it is what it is. He will be in the Hall of Fame if he's not in there already. A lot of people are saying that they should have come out with something, the big tribute like they did for Anthony Smith, this last events that they did. I think that they will at some point next time he's at a fight, but I just think that they just didn't have it linked up, because he was saying he was going for a title. It just didn't seem that way, that he was going to kind of call it quits. But it is what it is. So anyway, that's what I think about that fight. I didn't watch the Grasso Silva fight. I watched part of the BSD and then Prepolek fight. But don't really have much to say on that, right? I do have something else to say though. I find it very interesting when we start listening to the UFC commentators and how they are very much, they side with somebody. Like everybody has like their trio that they like to listen to, when it comes, some people like Lorosenko, some people like Anthony Smith, Dominic Cruz. You got DC, you got Joe Rogan. I mean, you have Anik. I mean, I personally like Anik, DC, and Joe Rogan. I like that. The Dominic Cruz was in this one, I believe, right? And so it just seemed like they were very much, I don't know, it just seemed like they were discrediting Jack D a little bit. And I don't know, man. It bothers me when people say certain things, and like it just seems like they're leaning towards one side. They're trying to skew what everybody's view is on what's happening. I guess that's the point. It is their opinion, and that's why they do mix and match people and have different people together. But I don't know. It's very interesting when you watch the way different commentators get together and they're watching different fighters, because you can have those same three that were there watching two different people fight, and in a different division, whatever, in a different location, and they're just going to talk about it way differently. It's interesting. I guess that makes sense, and that there's nothing to really say, but it just seemed like they were very much skewed towards Bilal in this one. And it seems like they were very much skewed towards Farouk in this one as well. And so I don't know. It just seemed like they were, I don't know, like they were going for they were going for the favorites. So I don't know. It kind of bothers me, but it is what it is, and it's whatever, right? So you all also have, let me see your tweet. So the next thing we have on here is we have Alex versus the UFC, right? This is interesting, right? This is very, very interesting here. So let's see. So Alex tweeted, I always answered the UFC's calls, but if they want to play with me, we can do that. I've never spoken poorly of the UFC, but with what I've just heard, I'm disheartened. I've already had enough of not fighting anymore, and after what was just relayed to me, this may be the start. Right? So he posted that, and then a little bit after, he went ahead and said, well, everyone, I received a ton of messages from everyone who saw the post on my Twitter. I didn't know about it. I was hacked. It's been a while since I posted anything you guys see, but I was hacked and I'll resolve it. I didn't even know what was going on, Piera added. I have a great relationship with the UFC, right? People like to do bad things. That's that. Trauma, right? So that was posted, right? Then you had DC come back saying, that's not true. He did post that. He didn't get hacked, and he's upset about something. The word is that they reached out to him and said if he was ready to fight Ankalaev, this is what I'm hearing, or this is what I'm reading or seeing, that if he was ready to fight Ankalaev International Fight Week, he said that he couldn't be ready by then. They said if he wasn't ready, they were going to go with the next person, and he called bullshit on that, which I get, and that's it's a business and has to keep rolling, but I get where his point is, right? So, I think that it talks a lot about where the UFC is right now, right? It talks a lot about what the UFC cares about. You have somebody in Alex Poetan Piera who has been there for the UFC, who has saved cards, who has fought multiple times on short notice, and who always brings it, right? He always brings excitement. He always brings the viewers, and he's fantastic, right? And so, you have someone like that, and I do feel like maybe he doesn't get treated great. And I do feel like the UFC is more of a money grabber, and they've always maybe been, but I feel like now more than anything, they're very much about that money, about the dollar bill, right? And I think that there's a big change happening. I think by the end of this year, there's a big shift in the UFC. You might see Dana move away and start doing this TKO boxing stuff. You might see Hunter Campbell step in. You might get somebody else stepping in. But it's going to be interesting because like I said in the beginning, at the top of this episode, Dana White wasn't there. So where was he? Where was he in this fight that what turned out to be a fantastic fight, and the implications after this and kind of the domino effect that everything happened? People want answers, and maybe he didn't want to answer those answers because he didn't have the answers for the questions. And so, I get that, I guess, but he was definitely, there's been plenty of times where he said the fight just finished, we'll talk about it on Tuesday. That's what he always says. That's his go-to. So he could have definitely, addressed it the same way he does with all the stuff, right? But if you've noticed, I don't know when it started, but if you look back 5-7 years in the post-fight conferences, he's up there for a long time. He's up there talking for a long time because there's so many questions. And now he's up there very fast. He's up there, 15, 20 minutes? Maybe at most, maybe tops. Half of that's talking about like how much money they did in the gates, right? And half of that saying, oh, we'll find out on Tuesday. The match just finished. We don't match make on the night of fights, which isn't true. They do that a lot. But, it just, I don't know. There's a change happening. And we're about to see what's going to happen. But this event was fantastic. I watched Brendan Schaub show, talking mad shit about this UFC event. I thought it was great. And I think a lot of people did think it was great. And a lot of people did want to watch it. But, he talks bad about it. He talks down on it, right? And he has his own hot takes. And maybe he does that for views, and he does that so that people can check out his stuff. But anyways, it's a That's a tangent. But where I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm excited to see where the welterweight division goes. I'm excited to see who Illia fights. I'm excited to see Illia Charles, who I think is going to be the match to see in July for International Fight Week. Ooh, exciting, right? So I wanted to go watch a fight this year. That was my goal. I said this in January. I wanted to watch a fight this year. The one that I could have gone, I might have talked about this in one of the other episodes, but I could have gone to see the one with Max and Dustin. But I'm going on my anniversary trip, my 10-year wedding anniversary trip the next day. So that's not going to happen, right? If you guys know, in the East Coast, the main card starts at 10. You're not watching that main fight until 1 a.m. Right. It gets to be tiring. So I can't, even though that's a fantastic fight, and that's probably one of my favorite fights this year. I can't sacrifice my anniversary for that. But they are talking about possibly something happening in Chicago in August, and that's 3 hours away from me. So if they do something in Chicago and it's in August, there's only one weekend I wouldn't be able to do it. But if they do that in Chicago, oh, I'm going. Your boy's going. And I will vlog it. I'll do all the stuff. I'll post it onto the channel. And UFC guys, please make it so that it's right in the middle of August and not the week I can't do it. I think it's the 22nd or something like that. That weekend I can't do it, or the very first weekend. But other than that, it's a gap. It's 50-50 because there's 2 out of the 4 weekends I can't do it. But come on, UFC gods. Let's go. MMA gods. But that's all I have for you guys in this episode 10, Fight Club Podcast. We finally made it to double digits. This is fantastic. We're coming up on a year, I think. And I haven't done that many. So a year and then only 9 episodes. Pretty sad. But we're getting back after it. We're doing the damn thing. If you guys want, please like, share, subscribe. I usually get about 8 views maybe like 5 to 8 views on my videos. Not very much. I hope you guys will share it. I hope you guys like it. I get a lot of views on my shorts, but that's just people probably scrolling through. But if you guys have anything that you guys want to ask me, you guys can go ahead and email me at fightclubpodcast2024@gmail.com. You can find us obviously on this YouTube channel, the Fight Club Podcast, or you can look up our Instagram, Fight Club Podcast 2024, and then you can go ahead and message us, make a comment, but share it, like it, subscribe, do all that stuff, follow us. I appreciate you guys all. Again, happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day to the mothers out there holding it down. I appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.